Assalomu alaykum, hurmatli professor o'qituvchilar, ustozlar, talabalar, hurmatli mehmonlar. Good afternoon, dear professors, students, colleagues, and distinguished guests. It's a great pleasure and an honor to welcome all of you to today's meeting here at the Toshkent State University of Oriental Studies. Today, we're pleased to have with us a distinguished guest from Germany, Ms. Ketlin Gyobel, Chair of the Board, Culture Cooperation International ED, an Islamic scholar, writer, publicist, and translator. On behalf of our university, I would like to warmly welcome Ms. Ketlin Gyobel to this special event. Bugun biz Germaniyadan tashrif buyurgan taniqli mehmonimiz Xalqaro madaniy hamkorlik assotsiatsiyasi boshqaruvi raisi, islomshunos olimi, yozuvchi, publitsist, tarjimon Ketlin Gyobel xonimni qarshi olayotganimizdan juda ham mamnunmiz. Toshkent davlat SHARQSHUNOSLIK universiteti nomidan Ms. Ketlin Gyobelni ushbu maxsus tadbirda samimiy qutlab, xush kelibsiz deymiz. Ms. Gyobel has devoted many years to promoting cultural and educational dialogue between the Western and Islamic worlds. She has also contributed to intercultural and intercivilizational dialogue and to the international promotion of rich cultural and intellectual heritage of the East, including Uzbekistan. Gyobel xonim ko'p yillardan buyon G'arb va islom olami o'rtasidagi madaniy va ma'rifiy muloqotlarni rivojlantirishga o'z hissasini qo'shib kelmoqda. Shuningdek, u madaniyatlararo va sivilizatsiyalararo muloqotni rivojlantirish hamda Sharqning, jumladan O'zbekistonning boy madaniy va ilmiy merosini xalqaro miqyosda targ'ib qilishga katta hissa qo'shib kelmoqda. According to Ms. Ketlin Gyobel's professional profile, since 2009, she has been leading Culture Cooperation International EV based in Berlin. Uning kasbiy faoliyatiga oid ma'lumotlarga ko'ra, u 2009-yildan buyon Berlinda joylashgan Culture Cooperation International EV tashkilotiga rahbarlik qilib kelmoqda. She has also participated as an expert and a speaker in international congresses and forums related to Islamic civilization and cultural heritage. Shuningdek, u islom sivilizatsiyasi va madaniy merosiga bag'ishlangan xalqaro kongress, forumlarda ekspert va ma'ruzachi sifatida ishtirok etib kelmoqda. Dear guests, today's meeting gives us a wonderful opportunity not only to learn more about Ms. Gyobel's professional and international experience, but also to hear her views on culture, civilization, intercultural dialogue, and the importance of understanding our shared heritage. So, without taking any more of your time, I would like to welcome our distinguished guest, Ms. Ketlin Gyobel. Ms. Gyobel, I would like to begin our conversation with your professional activity. And you have worked for many years in the fields of Islamic civilization studies, writing, translation. And could you tell us a little about your professional activity and what was inspired your interest in Islamic culture and dialogue between differences of civilizations? Please.
Hello, Asma. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a big honor to be here. And I think it's an important exchange we should have, be it here or maybe if there's interest later on with email or whatever. Yes, to come to your question, I started quite normally studying in Berlin University. I started to study Islamic science and is it on? Hello? Yeah. I started to study Islamic science and some languages, a little bit of Turkey, a little bit of Arabic. And it was ages ago, it was in the late 70s. And at this time it wasn't normal to do things like this in Germany. And after 1.5 years, I got very frustrated because after this time, I never ever had the Quran in my hands from the university. I didn't know about hadith, I didn't know about sirah and so on. And then I started traveling. My first travel was to Turkey. It was a different country, the 70s, deep in Anatolia. And so I started, one travel after the other to many countries, and I was honored to meet really famous teachers. Some of them are elderly persons, not more available. And so I was taught in different countries, and I got by this a very precious experience that was, for example, then in the book that I wrote, you have maybe 70% Sunni, 20% Shia, and then some other things, Bitashi, Ismaili, whatever, it realized here in the book that you may have a certain event and you read it, and then the next passage is the same event, but very different, nearly opposite. And then if you realize, it's not always like this, but this is Sunni, this is Shia, and if you read it 2 times, then you realize that there is no opposition, it is just a different focus and a different way to see the things, and that it is harmonious, and it is like a kaleidoscope. And with the book I wanted to demonstrate the broad umbrella of Islam, and that there are many opposite things that are allowed to be there, because if you have unity, if you have ahad, it doesn't mean that everybody is the same. God Almighty, He created different people, He created different nations. He didn't want us to be all the same. And ahad means coming together, finding unity. And it is possible even if somebody else has another meaning. If I marry a man and he has the same meaning as me all the time, it is boring. We must have different success and different ways to see things that one can discuss and learn from each other. And so it's possible that there must not be differences, and we don't talk about jihad and all these stupid things. But I think in this forum now, that is done in the Center of Islamic Science, it is so important because what I never understand is we are here with artificial intelligence, we are here with computers, with everything, and maybe if a pot of rice falls down in China, we all know this 2 minutes later. But we don't know the facts about Islam. It is so strange. And all the information, it is available, but it is like a wall, like a block. It doesn't get through to the people. And I think it only can be solved by knowledge, by scientific research, and by information. And one has to find ways to get through this wall. And with this, we are working in the Center of Islamic Civilization.
Thank you very much for the meaningful introduction. I have one question also. What have you learned from working with people from different cultural and religious backgrounds?
Being a German, I come from Berlin, Germany, one of the most dominant things I learned is flexibility. Because we in Germany, we always try from our mentality to be as perfect as possible, and that means that we have totally forgotten what is flexibility. And coming to a country like Uzbekistan or Arab countries, you have to survive, you must be flexible, and you are forced to learn it. And the more people you get to know, the more you learn by them, because it's always an exchange, and you see what you lack yourself, so you profit from this too.
You mean it's important, most important thing is for successful dialogue is flexibility.
Flexibility, and to get a sense for the very for the variety and for the choice and for the, let's say, the multiplicity. And it is important that the multiplicity gets an umbrella of unity. And in the religion of Islam, for example, it is possible. You can have a broad multiplicity, but you can have harmony if it's done correctly and if it's done with a correct intention, with a niyyah, that you want to come together and not to show that everybody is better than the other one, I think.
Thank you. Next question is, what particularly interests you about Uzbekistan? And what aspects of Uzbek cultural intellectual heritage do you think deserve greater international interest?
It's easy to answer everything. I think especially interesting, if you talk about the modern times, it's of course the people. And being frequently here in Uzbekistan, I realized the long way you are gone now with your new president, with Shavkat Mirziyoyev, and that I wish. Unfortunately, it doesn't, in the moment it is not like this, but I wish that it would be possible that our Western politicians, no matter what country, I don't want to get stuck into politics, but no matter which country, that the politicians, they could learn from Uzbekistan, and they could learn how there is a president and that he has in a relatively short time managed to improve social things, economy, health, education, everything. And, it is my personal opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems that he has a certain spiritual intention. I dare to mention this so as I realize it or think I realize it. And the spirituality is the best thing to beware of war. And we have a saying in Germany, if somebody doesn't have any idea at all, we say he even doesn't know how to write it. And I would say for our Western politicians, no matter the country, they even don't know how to write spirituality. And everything would be different, if they would have an idea of this. And so I really only could wish that more, even if it's only tourists that come, or that there are more closer contacts, that people get a feeling of the atmosphere here. And the last thing is that, of course, what is adorable is this huge task force you have of all your philosophers over the ages. I'm not going to mention them, everybody knows, but it's really a very, very rich heritage. And you do start or you are in the process of using all this.
Thank you very much. We know that you published a book, very important book in field of Islamic studies. Can you introduce it, please?
Yes. The point is, I work with the Center of Islamic Civilization for many years. Before it was rasmiy, before it was WOSCO. I'm one of the founding members of WOSCO. And so the work, it didn't start with the Center of Islamic Civilization. And the point is that when I talked, and then I was invited now in July. There was the Islamic conference with many important imams, muftis, even from Mecca. Both imams had been present and so on, 3 countries. And I had 6 minutes to present the book. And then everybody was glad and happy about the book. And so I just arrived in Berlin, then I got an email with a ticket, you have to come back, you have to present it to the media now. And the center is especially interested in the book because it is a tiny drop in the ocean, a micro step to try to get knowledge that it is traditional knowledge and it is the fundamental knowledge from the Quran, from the Hadith, from all the traditional sources. One cannot change them. It is a red line. They have to be like they are, but there is a certain flexibility, and this should be used to get them into modern times. And for example, if you take a pencil and you have a point on the paper, and this point is a symbol for the sources, and you cannot change the point, but you can take the pencil and you can turn it a bit as long as it sticks to the point. So one should work, and it is a big work. It is a big work for groups and for specialists to find ways to transfer these basic sources without changing it in our times. And so what I had done with the book is there is nothing explained what I think. There are too many people that think this or that, it doesn't matter. But the structure is that I took each of the 99 names, it is a chapter for its own, and then I just collected the material. You have for each name, you have samples from the Quran, you have samples from the Hadith, you have samples from the traditions of the countries, you have samples from the writings of the big masters of the present and the past, and even of philosophers. Sometimes there are some poems, or even from time to time a funny story, for example from Nasruddin Hoxha, the famous teacher of the children. And this all goes with that name, chapter for chapter. And as well you have a rich illustration with calligraphies that are all chosen in a way that they go with a name. Some of the calligraphies I collected myself when I was traveling from the architecture, and then with internet we changed it to black and white graphics. And so I think it should be a tool that everybody could start learning by himself. It is short passages you can sub. You must not read page by page. You can look what you feel attracted, then you read it, and then you can look to the sources and can study yourself. This doesn't mean that it is always good to have a teacher and an experienced person who tells you or advises you or consults you, but you can inform yourself with this. And the form is a Western form. It was 2 years ago, it was Dr. Manyovarov. He took the books to the Ministry of Education. And the ministers at that time, she made a test, and she said she realized that the students are very interested in this because it is authentic, but it is something like a fresh wind, and it's not the same way as you always know this. Yeah? This is part to the structure.
Thank you very much. Actually, here in our audience, some of professors in translation studies or political studies or historical sciences. That's why we are interested in your activity as translator also.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, the point is that when I was here in July, the big Islamic meeting, conference, forum, there were 2 imams who both offered translations, and we hopefully will now have the discussion with Dr. Firdaus Minabarov, Dr. Firdaus Abdurkhalikov. And one is Imam Dr. Demir from Russia. He is still very young, but he is a very famous, very experienced Imam, and he said he will take care with his students for an translation and into Russian. And then there is Imam Bashar Arafat. He is born Syrian, but he is for a long time in the US and in Colorado, and he says for the US it would be very, very important to have a book like this available. And he has big groups with students there too, and they will start with translations. and we will have here the discussions with Dr. Radikov, who is going possibly to partner it. And then today, when I had the presentation in the morning, then a gentleman from a huge Turkish publishing house came and he said, "Give the book to me, we will publish it." And so it slowly starts. But just to mention, if you are here with translations, there's one problem that always surfaces if it comes to translations, because we have there are parts, kalam groups will love. Then we have parts that is more for Bektashi or for dervishes, then for Shia, then for Sunni. And we had some samples of translations we didn't accept then because, for example, if there's someone Hanafi, with all respect, then there was a suggestion that if we have the calligraphies like Bismillah in the form of a bird or so, then they said, no, but you must remove the feet because the feet are dirty. How can you write Bismillah starting on the feet? So I said, I wasn't this, it was a Bektashi. But the point is, you have to measure the wisdom of Bektashis and take these opposites. Yeah? You have to measure the wisdom of Bektashis with Bektashi tools. And you have to measure the wisdom of Hanafi with Hanafi wisdom, and you should not mix it. You must leave it separate, but under the same umbrella, as like if you have a kaleidoscope. You have a lot of aspects, yeah, a lot of colorful little stones, but if you mix it, it comes to a wonderful picture.
Thank you very much. I'm sure that many people in our audience will be interested in learning this book and exploring its ideas further.
Thank you.
Dear professors, colleagues, and students, we have now reached the interactive part of our meeting. Hurmatli ustozlar, talabalar, hamkasblar, endi interaktiv qismimizga yetib keldik. Uchrashuvimizni savollaringiz bo'lsa savol berishingiz mumkin. We would like to give the floor to our audience, and agar savollaringiz bo'lsa bemalol berishinglar mumkin. We would be very happy to hear questions both from professors or students also. Please. Savollaringiz bo'lsa.
Dear Professor Ketlin, welcome to our community of Orientalists here. We are glad to see you and to meet you here. So my question, your research activity is dedicated to Islam, Muslim community, Islamic civilizations in Central Asian states, and etc. What is the position or situation of Islam in Germany, particularly in Germany?
Shall I really talk about it? The point is to start on a university level, that in the moment in Germany it is very rare for German government, but thank you. But we have money problems, and there's not enough money. And so they start to cut education, unfortunately. They cut to social givings and social levels. And unfortunately, for example, when they started to cut at the university level, they have closed about 3, 4, 5 Islamic institutes all over Germany because there's no money anymore. And among these institutes, there have been really famous professors, like, for example, Mrs. Dr. Baldauf. Yeah, she's very known, and she worked closely with the Uzbek embassy in Berlin and so on. And she was sent into retirement a little bit earlier, and things like this. And this is the opposite thing. We would need more Islamic institutes just to do something against Islamophobia and about all these stupid ideas that are around. And one is telling this, the other one, and then it's in the newspapers, and then they talk the same. It's always the same tone, but we are in a concert. There should be hundreds of tones. And it is, for example, once a year or each year I have Nowruz. Yeah, I organize it. And we have in Berlin, usually we had 10 embassies that had the Nowruz. Of course, Uzbekistan and Iran were both the main ones, yeah, because they have, Nowruz is very dominant and they have a long holiday season and so on. And then we have it in the house of the in one of the houses of the major, one of the big houses in Berlin. And each country, each ambassador is giving a Nowruz greeting, and then we have a festivity on stage, half an hour each country, and so on. And this year, for example, some of the countries, they weren't allowed to participate from German side because, of course, we have the flags on the stage, yeah? And they said, no, it's not possible, we don't want to have the flag of this and that country on the stage. So we are not 10 countries, but we are only 6 countries, and so on. And it is like a screw that you, screw more and more. I don't have so many opportunities to talk anymore in Germany because I just don't want to hear what they say. But if I have the opportunity to talk, I always say, look, a religion like Islam, for example, is like a tool. And you can take the tool, it's a modern word, yeah, you can say it is like a hammer. You can take a hammer and you can take a nail and put it in the wall and hang a beautiful picture on it. But you can take this tool, this hammer, and knock somebody on the head. That's a problem then. And so it is up to the people and the human beings. They are giving the tool of Islam, the tool of religions, but they must use it in the. Thank you. Let's say we talk about German. I think it's gone again. I think then it is up to us what we do with the tools. Yeah. That's it. And it's not the religion that is bad. A religion is a tool. You can use it. It is made for human beings, for use. And for example, it's sometimes if I'm in Islamic countries, then religious persons, they say, oh, there are 99 names. I use it nearly each day as a zikr, the morning and the evening, and it helps me a lot. And then I say, yes, it is important to have a zikr. It is important to do something with it, but you can do more. If you start to look, you must not always have this book, you can do it yourself. Look which surahs from the Quran go with that name. Look what the hadiths say, or the masters. And so you can go deeper in the knowledge and you can start to use it. Dhikr is important, always, but what about the usage? Take the hammer and take the nail and hang the beautiful pictures on the wall.
Philosophical view.
Thank you very much. Please, next question.
Good afternoon. First of all, Professor Gyobel, I would like to express my deep gratitude on behalf of not only by myself, but on behalf of our university. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your experience with us. Currently, I'm conducting a research on the translation of Islamic terminology from Uzbek into English. And I have too much questions for you, but I'm going to choose some most important of them. First one is this: what was the most challenging aspect of discovering each name of Allah and for yourself, understanding the deep meaning of Allah, and delivering it to the Western readers in English? And how has the learning Islamic sciences changed your own attitude and own understanding towards Islam? You have mentioned that you have just started learning Islamic sciences over the past 8 years, right? And how has
No,
it
no, no,
changed
no,
your
it's
own-
ages. It's decades. It's decades, not ages. Decades, yeah.
And how has it changed your own attitude towards Islam?
To start with the second question, that's a more easy one, that this is not the case with me because it's a difference, because you were born into Islam, and so you can judge what happens if you start going deeper in it. But I was brought up being a child in an let's call it a Christian surrounding, and then I was very young and student when I started to study it, and so it was not a before and after regarding Islamic subjects. Yeah, but of course, wisdom changes everybody. Yeah. And of course, it changed me as it would change everybody if you get knowledge, because it's one of the most important aspects of Islam that we all should look for knowledge. And to come to the first question, it really was a challenge, especially regarding translations. I'm not on that level that I could translate or would dare to translate Quran into German. It's really not my thing. Yeah, you need groups of this and really experts. And then I made a research. You have a lot of German Qurans, old ones, new ones, whatever. I studied all of them, and not one was fitting what I needed. Yeah, and then I spent a lot of time. What am I going to do? And then somebody recommended to me an English Quran. It is the translation of Yusuf Ali. There are two translations. One is the traditional one from 1920 something, and one a more modern one. The modern one I couldn't use. I decided to take the one of 1920, and so it was easy for me to translate the English content into the German content. And to me, what was a big difference between this Quran translation and other translations is that it was done by the heart. And then it helps yourself to understand with the heart if you have a translation with the heart. And in Germany, for example, in English, it's the same. There are scientific translations, and then there are more poetic translations. Yeah, but if you have a poetic translation, you cannot go by the content. And then I had only one German translation that I used from time to time. It was from Karimi, and this is a translation word by word. If you read it in German, and you are not always in the science, in the Islamic science, you don't understand a word. You think, what is it? Yeah. But if you are puzzling all night on one sentence and doesn't know if you got it, if you really got it, and then you read it word by word, then it helps. Yeah. So I had these both very opposite. But I didn't use the German word by word, not too often, but it was a help. Yeah. Thank you.
Next question.
Miss Professor,
Yes, welcome. I will do my best.
Mrs. Professor, do you speak Arabic or Turkish language?
When I was young, I was quite good in Turkish language, yeah, but spending decades in Germany, where every Turkish people speak better German than I do, over the years I didn't practice it.
You remember Turkish language?
Konuşuyorum biraz Türkçe daha.
Arabic, no.
Yes, I studied it, and I can get along with writings, especially with the old writings, yeah. And if I hear Arabic people speaking, I can follow the line, yeah. But I myself, I don't speak it because I cannot keep this pronunciation. I can say the same sentence 5 times and it is correct, they don't understand me. And then somebody comes, this you mean. Yeah, I gave up. Yeah, I'm ashamed then. But with this, I started to learn in Turkey, as I mentioned. And I was a student in many, many different madrasas, yeah. And I was happy and glad that it happened to me that I met when I was young big teachers. Many of them, they are not here anymore. For example, if you ask about Turkey, it was Süleyman Dedi in Konya. He was the last Sheikh of the Mevlevis. He was the last Dedi, because the difference between Sheikh and Dedi was that he had done the Halvat, yeah, the 40 days in the room under the earth. It was the last one of them. And then in Turkey, I studied for a long time with Mustafa Effendi. He is quite known. He had his bookshop in the bazaar, and all the sheikhs from the globe, they visited him there, and so on. And I was invited in a lot of madrasas. I studied in Afghanistan. I studied in Egypt. Recently, it was 1.5 years ago, I was honored to have a private audience with Imam Ahmad from the Al-Azhar University. We had exchange and so on.
Savol bo'lsa bersangiz va tarjima qilib berishadi. Savol bo'lsa. İngliz tilida qilib berishadi.
99 kitobimiz haqida ikki og'iz to'xtalib o'tsangiz, 99 kitobini bugun biz prezentatsiyasini ko'rmoqchi edik, eshitmoqchi edik. Shunga ikki og'iz nimangizni aytsangiz, fikringizni
Yeah, I just had it because if they wanted to have a sample of a chapter.
Want to just give brief explanation of this book, like what's written.
Yes, I can do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I expected it, and I chose a series of 3 chapters. Because you know maybe better than me, because there are many ways to get attuned to the names, but one is that they come in pairs sometimes, yeah, and sometimes triple, or it depends. And expecting your question, I chose the 3 names. It is number 11, 12, and 13. It is Al-Khaliq, it is Al-Bari, and it is Al-Mutasawiya. And I chose it, I had it in the morning in the forum, because here there are very nice calligraphies that go with Uzbek architecture. For example, here you have a plan of the Bazaar of the goldsmith, which is a very, very famous map. And all 3 names, they have the content of creation. It is different. Please, you can correct me if there's something wrong. You are a professor here, and you are born in all this. And you have 3 aspects of creation. If you start with Al-Khaliq, let me, it is very, can make it shorter. Al-Ghazali, thank you. Al-Ghazali, for example, he has done an example that I chose for the book because it is exactly the concept to get these things in modern times. He chose the concept of Al-Khaliq, Al-Bari, and Al-Muzawiya through somebody who is going to build a house. Very simple. And if he wants to build the house, he first needs a planning. The planning is a creation. And if the creator, if he creates something, then it needs, because it's only him who is the creator in that level, it must be created that it fits to everything else in the translation. And this is the work of God Almighty. This is planning. If you build a house, you just have a certain area, you have your plot of land, and you have the house. So you make a planning what you want to have. You want a family house, or you want a stable for your enemies, or whatever, you make the plan. Then, if you have made the plan, you need to make the measurement of the plot. Yeah, you have to explore everything and of the house. Then the next step, this is the first one. This is al-khaliq. If you come to al-bari, you need handicraft. You need a master of handicraft. You need a master builder who starts thinking how he's going to build the walls, and he must take different measurements for the building. And then he makes for you the building and the rooftop. And then if this is done, it is a third step. It is al-muzawiya, that is let's call it, it is based on Ghazali, that is the interior design. And the interior design is that you make the decoration. It is here, and you have to come back to al-Bari, I have here a lot of plans in these 3 chapters of traditional Uzbek architecture, because it really helps to illustrate this. And if it comes to al-Muzawiya, then the next step is not far away. It is to Naqsh, making design, making imprints, making pictures. And then you are here again back to Uzbekistan. You are with Bahauddin Naqshband and his teaching about making the pictures and working with a pattern. And from that, if you like to go on, you can come to modern philosophy, because modern psychology is working with patterns. And there are in the West, there are from several countries attempt to start working with psychologically with patterns, that you understand the problem of somebody, and then you can work with the patterns. It is endless, these things, if you follow it. And this is the way to get it into modern times. And then if you are, for example, if you are a designer, you make jewelry, if you are a handicraft, if you a woodcutter or whatever, you can study it and find help to do your job. And then you get it into practice in modern times.
Thank you very much.
He's our university's respected professor, Doctor of Science in Arabic Studies.
Yeah.
That's why he's interested in your book, especially.
I only have this book, only one, because I had to bring with me so many things for the center. They ordered from Germany books and so on. But I promised, if I'm here next time, and I regularly come, I bring at least 3 or 4 books with me. They are so heavy, I couldn't bring more. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yana bugün sağ olun. Sağ olun Mahar.
Our university, and thank you very much about sharing your knowledge and.
Good afternoon, dear professor. Welcome to our university. We are very glad to hear about your knowledge and your insights. And I have a question. Which stories about Islam had the greatest influence on you, and are these stories also known in Christianity or the Jewish society?
I didn't get the first part of the sentence. The first part of your sentence, it was not clear enough.
Which story about Islam had the greatest influence on you? And also, these stories about Islam known among the Christianity or the Jewish society?
Okay. It is some is a general line and then one special. If you come to the general line, for example, I like very much the passages where there is a relationship to Christianity. For example, one other of my books, it is called Animals of Heaven. And in this book, each chapter is dedicated to a different animal. And in principle, it is telling the stories of the prophets of Islam with animals. So you have Suleiman with the hudhud, you have Suleiman with the horses, with the ant, and so on. And you have many of them. So the book starts, for example, of course, with horses, because the main animal is Burak, the horse of the Prophet sallallahu. And these stories, if you compare them with the Christian stories, I was brought up in my elementary school in a school that was in a religious Christian school that was run by nuns and by priests, and I know the Christian stories very well. And so I realized that what the Islamic stories, if they mention that, what they tell is that it helps better understanding of the Christian stories. I will tell you one sample is, if you have the story with Musa, when he went to the hill, and the people and his people were left alone. Then they started to make in Christianity, it is a golden calf. Being children, we always ask, why is it a calf? Yeah, and what is it, and so on. Nobody knew. Then when I studied the Quran and got more into that story, then I realized it is not a calf, it is a cow. And it is very simple, you can follow it up. The Israelites, they just came from Egypt and they were used the very famous cult of Osiris, of the big cow. And so it nothing else that happened there, that Moses was away, he was talking with God, and he left his people alone, and then they fell back to the Egyptian Osiris cult. Very simple, so it was a cow. And it is many things like this, if you know both stories quite well, it is complementary and it helps, yeah? And there are some stories, for example, being a woman. Of course, I love stories with women, and I think they are much too few. And I hope one time to have maybe a project with the university or whatever to explore more of these women's stories. And there's a story that is not a story, it is a traditional thing, that it was Hafsa, one of the women of the Prophet ﷺ, who was honored to collect all these bits and pieces. You know, there was a bone from a sheep, and there was a paper, a papyrus, whatever. She all had put this in a big casket, and then later, after her death, it was taken that casket, and then it started. It was one important part that the Quran came into being. There are different discussions at that time and so on, but it was a very big function because it was Hafsa. She took care of all this treasure in the casket, for example. And there's another story, of course, I like it very much. It is the encounter between Prophet Suleiman and the Queen of Sheba. And there's a big difference between the Christian stories. In the Bible, for example, Suleiman, he was a prophet, of course, because God spoke to him. That's the main characteristic, more or less. Yeah. But in the Bible, he is not called prophet. He is always, without exception, called King Suleiman, because he was master of the jinn. And so in the Bible, they said if he is master of the jinn, he cannot be a prophet. It is a bit dubious. Better we call him king. And there are things that explain each other. Or last thing, then I finish last thing. For example, the book starts, of course, with Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. The difference is, as everybody knows, the difference is that Ar-Rahman is the mercy of God. Ar-Rahim is more focused on the mercy between the creation. And going on with this mercy, and if you study all the 99 names, and I think it is characteristically that the last one is As-Sabur, if you have come to this, and if what somebody is aiming or intending to master all that name, that he maybe even think about getting near the 100th name, there is a very, very good Christian parallel as well, because if you come to the 100th name, you have access to Ruh, the Spirit. And for example, Jesus Christ, he was an emanation of this Ruh, because he was born out of Ruh. And it was not that he had gone the way studying all the 99 names to come to the 100 names. He was an emanation of the 100 names. And so it was reason that he was able to do all these healings, or even get people back after they have died, because he was being emanated in human form. So you have a lot of Christian parallels.
Thank you. It's been very interesting and essential discussion. But because of our distinguished yes, time is limited, unfortunately, we should finish discussion.
Yes.
And thank you very much to everyone who participated in this discussion. At this point, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to Ms. Ketlin Gyobel for joining us today and sharing her experience, knowledge, her valuable perspectives with our students and academic community. Thank you very much. And now we would like to present a certificate of appreciation, and I kindly invite our Vice-Rector for International Cooperation of our university, please, to present.
No, short, just addition. Thank you for your just very good information about the book, and I hope, just as you promised, just you will bring next time 2 books, and then 1 book.
3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4. Okay, 1 will be in our library, and then of course, just everybody and as our students will get acquainted to this book, and for sure. But it was a great chance to hear the ideas from the writer. It was kind of gave a lot of, a pleasant feeling. Thank you. Sure, just we have, certificate, which you give very good, introduction about your book, and kind of. Bulat, she wants to see your book. If it doesn't matter. It's kind of yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we have our traditional, big one. And I think that will be a little bit heavy.
But no, my luggage is empty, so.
Okay.
Oh, thank you so much. I say thank you for the honor. My name is Ketlin Gyobel. I'm coming from Germany, from Berlin. I'm Director of Cultural Cooperation International e.V. And we work for several decades already on cultural exchange and religious exchange between German-speaking countries and let's call it countries of Islamic background. And I'm very honored to be now in Uzbekistan here. I have been invited by the forum of the Center of Islamic Civilization in Toshkent, and I was invited to present a book there and have a speech, which is a big honor because at this time there are scientists from, one can say, from all over the world, and to present their new discoveries to the media, and it was international media present as well. I must say I spent a wonderful, entertaining afternoon here in the Tashkent State University of Oriental Studies, with a mixed class of students for Islamic science and translations and languages. And I introduced a book that I had authored about the Al-Asma'ul Husna, the 99 names of God. We talked, I presented it, and then we had a very wonderful discussion with the students, and there's a difference. You know, if I have these discussions in Germany, sometimes I don't know where to answer it. And these answers here, these questions here, they were really, really experienced questions, and they were a mirror of the students that really had learned a lot already and started to have their own thinkings. And it was a good intellectual exchange. And the atmosphere was wonderful. We laughed and we exchanged, and thanks to the director and what is new to me here, what I do not experience in this way in Germany, it is the deep respect. Not only the respect that the scholars, that the students do have towards their directors, it is vice versa the same. It is a respect of the presidents, even of the university, with whom they respect the students, and it makes if a thing like this happens, then it motivates the students, and they get a totally different intentions. It helps them to form the nia if there's such a relationship between students and directors.